Hi everyone, I'm Larry Newber and welcome to SpeedWeek.
And I'm Bob Jenkins. Several traditional auto races are held each year. We begin this week's SpeedWeek program with a report on one of them.
Well, Bob, next to Indianapolis, maybe the most traditional IndyCar race is Milwaukee. Practice crashes eliminated a very fast Steve Chassis, Jim Crawford, and the Indy pole winner, Pancho Carter, but he had a Gallus backup. You know, just to hear 1 mile flat oval doesn't sound all that exciting, but through the years, this place has often provided memorable dramatics, but today would be memorable for only a select few. Remember that red car that finished second at Indy? Well, that's him leading lap 1. Matter of fact, he led lap 2, lap 3. Well, you get the idea. Tom Sneva inherited Ed Pim's in-house Eagle from Indianapolis. Remember, his was crashed, but just couldn't make it go fast in the prelims. But the race, an entirely different story. Tom in blue and white, and Carter, Cosworth, by the way, came from around grid 20th. They were the passing stars of the day. The Gallus backup was black instead of the normal Valvoline blue and white, but a couple of nagging problems cost this potential winner a lap. Al Unser Jr. qualified fourth. His effort ended in a cloud of smoke early. Johnny Rutherford also timed fast, but failed his parking test along the wall. Ari Luyendijk passed his test, just barely though, and that's Dick Simon encouraging him around. Ed Pim, the other Gurney car, this is a Lola, in the top 6 all week, including the race until an intermittent throttle shot him out of the saddle. Speed worth noting, Rick Mears, strong third all day in the yellow Pennzoil Z7, of course, and Chet Phillip, his Lola, 9th quick, 10th in the race. Indy winner Danny Sullivan, rapid, but not on the same pace with Mario, Tom, and Rick, but no spins either. Now, here's the final. Mario Andretti easily, Sneva, Mears, Sullivan, Carter. Second 5, Roberto Guerrero, consistent Jose Lee Garza, Emerson Fittipaldi, Bobby Rahal, and Phillip.
It was a big weekend for the Andretti family. Not only did Mario win the IndyCar race, young son Jeff had a successful Super V run. He broke the one-lap Super V record by a little over 2 miles an hour and led the first 5 laps, 4 of which were run under yellow. Mike Cooper smacked the concrete in turn 3 on the first lap. Ted Krappus in number 98 took the lead on the restart and held it for the next 9 circuits, while Andretti, Ken Johnson, and Gerald Rice fought for second. The 100-kilometer event's second caution involved Kim Campbell in one of the new Ansons and Matt McBride. Andretti took the lead for good on the 15th lap. Meanwhile, Davy Jones in number 2 joined the Krappus-Johnson-Rice duel for second, but Jones gets caught behind a slower car, dropping him to a 5th place finish. Andretti's margin of victory, 8 seconds. It's his first major win.
Well, I'm glad this is over, and I'm really happy that we held on to win this thing.
Did he give you any secrets, either your brother or your dad, as to how to get around this Milwaukee Oval?
No, not really. I kind of found my way, and they just helped me along in setting the car up a little bit, and but they let me make all the decisions.
Round 5 of the Lotus-led Formula One series was scheduled for the Spa circuit in Belgium, but Sunday morning, Jackie Stewart had an astounding announcement.
A most remarkable set of circumstances have just occurred here at the Belgian Grand Prix. It's just been announced that the Grand Prix will be cancelled. The reason for the cancellation is that the racetrack itself has broken up. The surface, just newly laid, came up during practice and qualifying in such a fashion that it is now no longer safe to be raced on. So in the first time that I can remember in modern history, a race would be cancelled.
Now, Lotus continues to lead manufacturers' points. Both Elio De Angelis and Ayrton Senna, for the first time, by the way, have wins, but the most successful driver over the past 3 seasons has been Alain Prost. In 4 races this year, he's crossed the line first 3 times, but 1 win was disallowed, and he crashed heavily in the rain. Surprisingly, he also fancies the other side of the Atlantic, Indy cars.
Yes, for sure. I wanted to be there. I wanted to go, but I had something to do in Pau, in France, for the Formula 3000 race. But for sure next year I'm going to see what happened in this race. And I'm very interested, but I think it's much more dangerous than Formula One, especially for us, because we race differently than the American drivers. And we need to have a very big experience about this kind of race. And if you go there and you think you are going to win the race, for sure you have a big chance to have a bad accident. And at the moment, if I go there, I would like to win very soon. So I think it's better to wait a little bit because I'm still young, and for sure one time I will try to go there.
In other Formula One news, Mark Schurrer has replaced Francois Hainaut in the second Brabham car. Brands Hatch in England will host the Grand Prix of Europe September 22nd, replacing the New York Grand Prix, which has been canceled for the third straight year. The Formula 3000 cars did run at the Spa on Sunday. Mike Thackwell won his second of the year. Alain Ferte was second, Christian Danner third, Gabriel Tarquini fourth, and Guido Dacco was fifth. Jaguar will have only one car at Mid-Ohio this weekend. Hurley Haywood and Chip Robinson will drive. The rest of the team will be preparing for Le Mans next weekend. NASCAR's first of two trips to the West Coast ended with the Grand National points leader adding to his total. The story from Mark Allen in Riverside, California.
Pole sitter Darrell Waltrip was gunning for his second straight win. Next to him, defending Bud 400 champion Terry Labonte was looking for his first Winston Cup win this year. And right from the green flag at Riverside, Labonte served notice he would be the man to beat, taking the lead and holding it through most of the early going. Half a dozen drivers were able to work to the front throughout the day, but nearly all were plagued by nagging problems. Waltrip was leading when a tire exploded down the backstretch. An unscheduled pit stop put him back in the pack. Number 9 Bill Elliott had visions of a second career win here until a tire went down. And 27 Tim Richmond looked like a possible winner until a bad tire put him off the pace. Though nearly all 95 laps were run under green on the winding 2.6-mile road course, Clark Dwyer did manage to bring out caution when he plowed up dirt and stalled entering the S's. But the important final round of pit stops came under green, and when complete, 22 Bobby Allison found himself the leader, but not for long. Labonte scooted by with 15 laps left and was never headed. 33 Harry Gant overtook Allison later on to capture second, and including the Winston, that's Gant's third straight runner-up effort. Ricky Rudd and Kyle Petty were next to the checkers. Labonte's first win of 85 extends his driving points lead and may be a good omen. It was winning this race last year that ignited a hot streak that propelled Terry Labonte to the national championship. This is Mark Allen reporting.
We'll be live this Sunday at Pocono International Raceway for the Vanscoy Diamond Mines 500. Starting time is 1 o'clock Eastern for this 13th stop on the Grand National Tour.
NASCAR North near Picture Town, USA, Rochester, New York, the Spencer Speedway. 4 had won in this very competitive series, and this produced another new winner. Jamie Aubie, the red and blue 41, plunges low for the first lap lead. Floridian Robbie Crouch, his blue 48, started 18th in shoulders all the way to the top. Then Crouch on the outside, clawing toward first, hook slides with Claude Leclerc's day-old car. Confusion, but no yellow. And fourth starter Hector Leclerc, spelled differently, into the lead. Matter of fact, 100 laps, no cautions. Leclerc's first win in 2 years.
It's just plain unbelievable. On a track like this, it's very tight track. You have to be very cautious. It's hard to believe that there was not a caution.
At Atlanta International Raceway, Trevor Boyes and Mike Alexander battled for the lead during the middle portions of an ARCA 500-kilometer race. But both pitted Alexander for left side tires and fuel, and that gave Davey Allison his second consecutive ARCA win. On the 32nd lap, Stuart Linden, a native of New Zealand, was killed when his car crashed into a dirt embankment in turn 2. It was only his second super speedway race.
Other stock car winners last weekend, Mark Martin in ASA, his second in a row at Nels Corners in Ontario. Tommy Ellis in NASCAR Late Model Sportsman at South Boston, Virginia. Gary Ballou, an All-Pro, at the new Asheville Speedway in North Carolina. Butch Lindley, injured in Florida in April, remains in a coma and in critical condition.
As if it could be another Mercury Capri year in SCCA Trans Am racing, race number 2 in the series was held at Sears Point Raceway near Sonoma, California Sunday. Although the Capri swept the first 4 positions earlier at Firebird Raceway near Phoenix, Paul Miller's Porsche has the Trans Am set worried. He was more than 3 seconds faster than second-place qualifier Willie T. Rives here at Sears Point. At the start of the 40-lap race, Willie T. gets the jump on Miller, and Paul is left with the job of catching up. Tom Gloy and Richard Wall ran 3rd and 4th early. Miller's Porsche is turbocharged and weighs about 500 pounds less than the Capri's. Paul Newman is back on the circuit, but finds it going a little tough. He recovers from this spin, though, to finish 6th. The V6 Buick Regal of Elliott Forbes Robinson is a DNF, completing only 13 laps. Robert Hahn gets sideways in turn 11 and bumps into Gary Matthews. Hahn drops out immediately. Matthews lasts only 11 more laps. Former IndyCar driver Chris Neifel is teammates with Willie T. and Wally Dallenbach Jr. this year. Chris finishes 8th in this one. Willie T. and Miller battle for the lead for the first 9 laps, then Miller spins and settles for an 11th place finish. Ribbs wins his 2nd in a row. Teammate Dallenbach is 2nd, 9 seconds behind. Defending Trans Am champion Tom Gloy is 3rd. Jim Miller completes another Capri sweep.
There were 4 other divisions that raced at Sears Point this weekend. Californians Randy McDaniel won the Sports 2000 and Jim Vassar victored Formula Fords. Fastest qualifier of the Atlantic West W Car Series shown here couldn't line up in time. Number 26 Jeff Wood got the pole, first lead, and eventually an uncontested win. IMSA champ Randy Lanier was in this race but failed to finish in the top 10. And traditional hot shoe Dan Marvin ran second for a while but got passed by John David Briggs and had to settle for 3rd.
A 20-lap Lucas Challenge race for SCCA Sports Renault also supported the Trans Am weekend at Sears Point. It was a tough afternoon for a couple of drivers. Robert Teal peeled off the engine cover in turn 11 after spinning off course in turn 2. And Mitch Wright in car number 2 led from the start until he ran out of fuel yards from the finish line. Bob Nelson, number 95, won the race and averaged slightly over 72 miles an hour.
Well, they're not back soaring with the Eagles yet, but the bird is out of the nest fluttering. This year's Can-Am Series is officially off the ground. There was a Can-Am race at Mosport last weekend near Toronto. SCCA sanctioned and further discussed plans this week for a series. Horst Kroll of Scarborough, Ontario, has raced Can-Am every year since 1977, so no matter what, he was going to race this year. And fittingly, this turned out to be his first win ever. He started up front and was slowed only when Rick Miaskevich spun and stalled on course. Dallas businessman Don Walker, who owned Champ Michael Rowe's cars last year, entered, qualified in the top 10, but didn't compete. Horst only beat longtime rival Dr. Lucelle of Hawaii, though by 4 seconds. Scarborough neighbor Joseph DeMarco was 3rd, Colorado Indy driver Bill Tempero 4th, and Mauro Lanero of Quebec was 5th. After the race, 28 teams met in Mosport and formed an organization called Can-Am Teams. Now, committees were also formed for promotions, finances, and rules. SCCA was approved as the sanctioning body, and 6 more races were scheduled for this year. 2 at Lime Rock, back to Mosport in September, Calgary, Alberta, the new St. Louis track in October, and the season finale on the scenic pier at St. Petersburg. The series might be attractive to recent Indy cars, for which the rules allow, particularly now that the B Series is in limbo.
The 2nd International Race of Champions is scheduled for this weekend at Mid-Ohio to be televised on CBS. The first IROC in February at Daytona ended like this. Sneva in white bumps Yarborough in rose, who taps Foyt Cream, the leader. Ray Hall in red also loses it, while Waltrip in light blue sneaks through for the win. Sneva spins across the finish line in 2nd. Earlier in the race, Tom Gloy spins and flips coming out of turn number 4 and slides down the tri-oval. He eventually emerges uninjured. Other IROCs this year will be in Talladega and Michigan.
The Acropolis World Rally results are in. Tino Salonen was the winner, his 2nd in 6 weeks, and Peugeot's 4th win. Stig Blomqvist was in an Audi Quattro was 2nd, and Ingvar Carlsson in a Mazda RX-7 3rd.
In our next segment, a veteran drag racing warrior stays on the comeback trail.
And the road is rocky for AMA. Stay with us.
The International Hot Rod Association was at its home track in Bristol, Tennessee last weekend for the Winston Spring Nationals. In qualifying, pro stocker Carlton Phillips of Vienna, Virginia was shaken up to say the least, but not seriously injured in this horrifying accident. The pro stock final saw Bruce Allen far lane take on Billy Ewing. Allen was in the 1984 Camaro that the late Lee Shepard would have driven this year. Ewing red lights, giving Bruce a 182-mile-an-hour win. Dale Poldy and Don Prudhomme were in the Pro Funny finals. Dale was in a brand new Buick Regal, which came to the track in a rental truck. Prudhomme, in an earlier run, set an all-time record of 266.27 miles an hour. But here in the finals, fuel spills onto the supercharger and Don backs off to prevent an explosion. Poldy wins with a slow 199.11, caused because he couldn't get the car into high gear.
Perhaps the most unusual track on the AMA Camel Pro Motorcycle Trail is in Danny Sullivan's hometown, Louisville. It's a half-mile, and that's not dirt, crushed limestone, believe it or not, and it always provides a unique challenge. And guess what? The main event story was not Bubba Schobert, but fellow Texan Terry Poovey. Oklahoma's Ted Booty, number 12, starts next to him, but the hole shot belongs to Poovy, and surprise, Tom Maitland on plate 30. He actually noses ahead of Poovy once, but several laps later he slides out of the groove. A serious turn 1 crash, Peter Hook through the inside guardrail, helicopter to Humana Hospital, but released Tuesday. Booty close because of the late red nipped at Poovy's heels, and Terry's Wade almost came a little too soon, but he won.
Freddie Spencer won both the 250 and 500cc classes at the Austrian Grand Prix. And Gary Scott, the 1975 AMA Grand National champ, is apparently retiring at the end of this season. Dean Thompson recorded his 91st career victory Saturday night at Ascot Park in CRA action. Jack Hewitt celebrated a win while Eldora Speedway was celebrating its 31st year of existence in an all-star sprint show. And Bob Ewell won the NCRA Champ Dirt Race at Lawton, Oklahoma. He now leads the points.
The last time we checked in on the World of Outlaw Sprint saga, the Pennsylvania posse was holding them up. Well, at least it was a standoff. But in recent days, they've continued to roam the eastern plains, and Steve Kinser again has become the #1 gun. Williams Grove, actually a rain date, headlined the weekend, and local Keith Kaufman looked invincible, started first. 21-year-old cousin Mark Kinser ran second, then Steve and Sammy Swindell began firing away. First, one of their personal classic gunfighter duels. Then Steve moved out and shot down leader Kaufman, who had a bad push tonight, and rode off into the sunset, as they say. And as you might expect, soon Sammy winged Keith, and there you go. Kinser and Swindell 1-2 again. Tuesday night, the Orange County Fair Speedway, Steve Kinser won again his 7th of the last 9. Now, Sammy Swindell reportedly unhappy over what he considers to be favorable treatment of Kinser, reportedly considering stepping out of the World of Outlaws.
Here's this week's trivia question. Since Can-Am racing began in 1966, who among the following has never won a Can-Am race? A. Al Unser Sr., B. Bobby Rahal, C. Phil Hill, D. Jim Hall, or E. Jackie Stewart? Larry will have the answer in a moment.
The answer to this week's trivia question, Al Unser entered one race in 1980 and won. Bobby Rahal has won, Formula One's Phil Hill a winner in that first season back in '66, and Jackie Stewart a couple. But D, Jim Hall and the Chaparral were never a winner despite finishing second 5 times back in the 60s.
Racing can occur on an oval, on a road course, down a quarter-mile strip, or up a hill. And a huge crowd attended the Budweiser Professional Motorcycle Hill Climb in Jefferson, Pennsylvania last weekend. Both 500 and 750cc engines are mounted on these specially built bikes with chains on the rear tires. Some competitors don't make it over the first knoll. Some make it all the way to the top, then almost take out the flagman. Some find the going tougher than riding a bucking bronc, and others just go over backwards, like David Hale. Steve Crowder won the 500cc division in 6.98 seconds. Wade Williams from Markham, Ontario, took the 750cc title in 6.74 seconds.
What a way to make a living, and they call that fun. Well, don't forget to join us for live coverage of the Grand National Pocono Race, 1 p.m. Sunday. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I'm Larry Newber.
And I'm Bob Jenkins. Join us for a report on that race and others next week on Speed Week. We leave you with more of the Trans Am race at Sears Point.